Revisiting a big bang in Avonmouth. There's a legal logjam that's impacting upon demolition workers and their families, and there's £1.5 billion up for grabs in a new national demolition framework. All that and more on the Weekend Wrap. On Thursday last week, you might recall that I paid a flying visit to Avonmouth to bring you some exclusive footage of a controlled explosive demolition at the former AstraZeneca facility. Well, now the auction giant Maynards has released the official video that provides a great look behind the scenes. Let's take a look.
My name's Daniel Gray and I'm the Managing Director of Maynards Europe in the UK. Today I'm talking to you about the Avara project, which was an AstraZeneca manufacturing site in Avonmouth in the southwest of England. We acquired the 100-acre site in December last year alongside our demolition partner Divestiture and our property partner EDC, who are based in Vancouver, Canada. We are demolishing and recycling every brick, every building, every piece of steel, every piece of metal, every curbstone and every road. There are over 10,000 assets to sell, and the ultimate aim of the project is to provide a developable platform for our partner EDC. The complexity of this project was compounded with the onset of COVID. We have very strict COVID protocols on site. Everybody's COVID tested when they enter the project, and we adhere to very strict health and safety policies. The building we're discussing today, the MPB, main production building, was built as a seismic building by ICI, meaning it was blast proof, and the construction of the building is very, very substantial indeed. So the most efficient way to keep on programme is to use explosives. Divestiture and Robin Rushforth blow out one column to test explosives, and the charge is correct, and once that's undertaken, we can then move to the next phase and plan the main blast event. And what we're doing on this project is that's unusual. We're using water to push the columns, support columns of the building out. We're putting the explosives in IBCs of water. That will help mitigate dust spread during the explosion. And we do have seismic monitoring around the site during the explosion too. So the building has been cut in half, and the north part of the building will fall to the north and the south part of the building will fall to the south. It's one of our philosophies at Maynards that we look to sell industrial machinery and equipment. We auction it and sell it, but we also see the project having value in every asset, and it's just part of our environmental commitment that we look to recycle every asset on site. After we've finished demolishing and removing all the assets, our partner EDC in Canada are looking to build 4 distribution warehouses on the site covering 1.85 million square feet and bring hundreds of jobs to the local area.
I'd like you to spare a thought for Stephen Pickens and his family. Now, if you just said to yourself, Stephen who? I wouldn't blame you. Embarrassingly and unforgivably, I did exactly the same thing when I was reminded of him yesterday. If you don't know, Stephen Pickens was a 62-year-old worker who was killed at Veolia's decommissioning site in Great Yarmouth in Norfolk back in October 2019. Another man was injured in the same incident that was described at the time as an industrial accident. Both men had been dismantling an oil rig at the time of the incident. Now, by Didcot disaster standards, a fatal accident that occurred less than 2 years ago is comparatively recent. There's plenty of time for an investigation to be concluded, for the findings to be published, and potentially for prosecutions to take place. But like Didcot, the case of Stephen Pickens appears to be lodged in a worsening legal logjam. Mr. Pickens' inquest was first opened on the 28th of October in 2019, when the cause of death was given as multiple injuries. At the time of that initial hearing, it was said that a pre-inquest review would take place the following January. When January 2020 rolled around, it was announced that the inquest had been delayed while investigation reports were prepared. It's now July 2021, and as far as I can see, no new inquest date has been set. Now, the fact that this coincided largely with the pandemic and the resulting lockdown means that a delay in concluding an inquest is no great huge surprise. But there's an even bigger potential legal logjam lying ahead for Stephen Pickens' family. Depending who you ask or what website you visit, there is somewhere between 45,000 and 65,000 cases of varying kinds waiting to come to Crown Court as we speak. That backlog is already at record levels, and the backlog has been growing at a rate of around 1,000 cases a month, meaning some suspects and victims will be waiting until 2023 for prosecutions to be heard. In fact, barristers are now predicting some of these trials may not be heard until 2024 unless there is a massive increase in court availability. Senior judges have said they fear that fewer cases will actually reach a conclusion as evidence is compromised by the passage of time or the loss of confidence from victims and witnesses. Bearing in mind that the cases of Stephen Picken and of the 4 men killed at the Didcot disaster have not even made it to court yet, the outcome in both instances suddenly feels a long, long way off. Someone once said the law is an ass. Today, however, the law is a sloth. Incidentally, as I said I would, I wrote to the Health and Safety Executive to request an on-camera interview with a senior person to explain why the Didcot disaster investigation is taking so long. The HSE messaged me back and suggested that I speak instead to the Thames Valley Police. I emailed them yesterday afternoon, and so far I've received just an automated response to say that my email has been logged and that a reply will be forthcoming. I'll keep you posted just as soon as I hear anything at all. Now I'm going to take a stab at this name. Pagabo or Pagabo has issued a prior information notice on a new £1.56 billion National Demolition and Land Preparation Framework. According to a report in the Construction Inquirer, the framework will run for 4 years and will allow local authorities and public sector bodies to procure a range of projects such as structural demolition, bulk earthworks and industrial dismantling. The Demolition and Land Preparation Framework will feature 10 lots, with each including 6 regional and national suppliers, along with 3 reserve organisations. The full list of lots is demolition of 5 stories and below, demolition of 6 stories and above, bulk earthworks and waste management, contaminated land remediation, mine work remediation, ground improvement, decommissioning and decontamination, asbestos management and removal, industrial dismantling and deplanting, and non-traditional high-rise structures. Jason Stapley, Managing Director at Pagabo, who knows, said, for any project that needs to procure these services currently, the contractor usually brings in an organisation from its supply chain. However, this new offering provides a compliant and direct procurement route for demolition and land preparation services for public sector bodies, affording them direct access to specialist firms. We are responding to market needs with this particular framework and look forward to working with Rugby Borough Council, which will act as the awarding body. Across the country, there is a large amount of development that will require demolition or site remediation to get going. This framework is set to make those early pre-construction phase services easier to access in a compliant manner for public sector organisations, making sure that every site and project gets the quickest and best possible start. Now, there will be a webinar on how to become a part of this massive framework early next month. And if I press the right button, as you can see, the registration for that webinar is live right now, and you can find a direct link to it over at demolitionnews.com. Demolitionnews.com, where it is actually the lead story today. So go and take a look at that if you want to be considered to be on part of that massive framework. In just a few years' time, people will look to the town of Aldershot and see the future of the high street. Pound shops and charity outlets will have given way to communal spaces, and a sleepy old military town will have been transformed into an aspirational place in which to live and work. Of course, architects and town planners will be praised for their foresight, but that long overdue transformation is actually being made possible by a demolition contractor. And that demolition contractor is none other than Rye Group. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, it's our intention to follow this project as it evolves over the coming months. Yesterday, we got to see the scope of the site and the challenges that lie ahead for the first time. Now, the real film itself is some weeks off, possibly even months off, but we can give you a very quick sneak preview of the early stages of these transformational works. Take a look at this. The video I'm about to show you pretty much speaks for itself, as it underscores the sheer scale of Chinese equipment manufacturers in general, and our friends over at XCMG in particular. Take a look at this.
If you enjoyed this show, please consider supporting us. Go to buymeacoffee.com/Demolition News.